All right, guys, welcome back. Today we're going to solve quadratic equations by a process called complete the square. We're completing the square. Let's go through this first one here. And this is going to be mainly just examples on this video, so hopefully you kind of pick up what's going on. This says solve x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 25. What I notice on this left-hand side of the equation right there, that's a perfect square trinomial, which means you can factor it like this. You can go x minus 4 squared equals 25. And I just kind of picked that up. You could do that just by looking, because remember how you square a binomial. You square the first one, you multiply together, double, and you square the second one. So it does equal that. So to solve that, I'm just going to take the square at both sides. When I take the square on the left-hand side, you just get x minus 4. On the right-hand side, don't forget to put your plus or minus. The square root of 25 is 5. So to finish up, I'm just moving the 4 to the other side, make it positive 4 plus or minus 5. And to get your final answer, go ahead and work that out if you can. 4 plus 5 is 9. 4 minus 5 is negative 1. Sometimes, if it's a radical answer, you won't be able to finish that last step, but you can get this to the next last one. So there's your two solutions, and I just recognize that you could do that. Now, what we're going to do today is, even when you can't do that right there, you can't factor that left-hand side, we're going to fix it to where you can. That process is called complete the square. All right, this next line, it says find the value of c that makes this trinomial a perfect square. Trinomial, then write the expression as the square of a binomial. So here's the pattern. Here's what we're going to do. Gosh, I got that marker thick. The way you get the c to make it a perfect square binomial is this. The pattern is you take half the middle term and square it. That's why it's called complete the square. Half the middle term and square it. So I'm going to take half of 16, square it. Half of 16 is 8. If you square 8, you get 64. That's called a perfect square trinomial. Then it says write it as a square of a binomial. Because you fixed it to where you can do this, you can write it like this. You can write x plus 8 squared. Because think about it. If you square the first one, I got to make this a little thinner, sorry. If you square the first number, you get x squared. If you multiply together double, you get 16x. If you square the 8, you get 64. So again, to make a perfect square, you take half the middle, then you square it. You take half the middle, then you square it. All right, this slide says solve that by completing the square. So here we go. Here's the steps. All right, what I'm going to do first every time is this constant term right here, the 4. I'm taking it over to the other side and leave some space where it was sitting. All right, now I'm trying to make this left-hand side become a perfect square trinomial. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take half the middle and square it. I'm going to take half of 12, which is 6, square it, which is 36. Now, that's illegal just to add a 36 to that left-hand side. I mean, you can't just put a number there because you want to, but you can as long as you put that same number on both sides. Whatever you do to one side, you got to do to the other. So don't forget, add to both sides. I'm going to give you a gesture for that tomorrow, but take half the middle, square, add to both sides. Now the left-hand side you can write like this. You can write like x minus 6 squared. The right-hand side you have a 32. And because you have a square now, you can take the square to both sides. The square root of the left-hand side is just x minus 6. The right-hand side, don't forget your plus or minus. You can also break down 32 by going 16 times 2. That's supposed to be a 16. The square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 2 I do not know. So to finish up, all you do to get x by itself is you move the 6 over to the other side, put it in the front, 6 plus or minus 4 on 2. Now do not add the 6 and 4 because 6 does not have a radical with it. You can only add if they both have radicals. So 6 plus or minus 4 on 2. All right, another one, complete the square. Going to do the same process, except you are not allowed to complete the square if you have a coefficient on your x squared that is not 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide everything up there by 2, like both sides by 2. So that becomes 1x squared. This becomes 4x. That becomes 7. And the cool thing is 0 divided by 2 is still 0, so I'm fine there. Now, same steps. Remember last time, the first step is take your constant term, that's 7, move it to the other side, make it negative 7. And then here I go. Half the middle, square it, add it to both sides. Half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. Add it to this side, add it to that side, add it to both sides. And when you do that, all of a sudden, this left-hand side, you can now write it like a binomial. You can write a binomial squared. Right-hand side, I'm going to get negative 3. Once you get here, you're ready to take the square root of both sides. I get x plus 2. Over here, you get plus or minus. Don't forget, but it's a negative square root, so you got to take out an I. make it positive square root of 3. Did that yesterday. Move the 2 to the other side. Negative 2 plus or minus I on 3. And you cannot add those because one's got a radical, one doesn't. One has an I, one doesn't. So you got to stop right there. All right. Last skill today, I think, says write this in vertex form, then identify the vertex. Okay, vertex form, remember, look like this. We did this a little while back. It looks like y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. That's what it looks like, and that's where we're going right here. I think we did that a while back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group my x's together in a parentheses. I'm going to leave the 22 just sitting out here because that needs to be my k. So notice I left space in my parentheses because I need to write it like this. I have an old saying that says if you need a parentheses with the square and you don't have a parentheses with the square, then you got to complete the square. That's a lot of squares. So you take half the middle again, same process. Half of 10 is 5. If you square 5, you get 25. Now here's one difference, a major difference. I was adding 25 to one side, then adding it to the other, but I don't want anything over here with the y. I want that y by itself. So what I'm going to do to make that legal, because I can't just put a 25 right there, because I added 25 to that side, I'm also going to subtract 25 from that side. And I know you're thinking right now, like, that's crazy. Why would you do that? Watch why I did that. Because the next line, I can now do this. I can take this parentheses, because I've completed the square, and I can write it like this. And if you haven't noticed this yet, whatever the half was right there, it was negative 5. The number that was half always goes into parentheses with the x, like every single time. That's going to be true. And then do this. Take the numbers out here, add those, you get negative 3. And right there, 2 steps, you're in vertex form. So it did ask me to find the vertex. The vertex then, remember the opposite of what's inside, exactly what's outside, 5, negative 3. And that's it. So it's a quick, completing the square is a great way to find the vertex or put something in vertex form. So pretty neat. One more slide. Oh yeah, the height y in feet of a baseball t seconds after it is hit is given by this function right here. Find the maximum height of the baseball. Now think about this, when the baseball is hit, it actually makes a parabola, like it goes off the bat and does this, and then comes back down. And that's the equation that it follows, believe it or not. So pretty cool there. So I need the maximum. Now think about what the maximum is. The maximum height is the vertex. You know, so it's up here. It'd be the vertex of that parabola right there. So I'm going to do just what I just did. I'm going to try to find the vertex form. So I'm going to factor out negative 16 because I need the t by itself. Negative 16 goes into negative 96. I don't need a plus sign right there. Negative 6 times. I'm going to leave this 3 just sitting out here like I did a minute ago. And I'm going to complete the square. Half of negative 6 is negative 3. If you square negative 3, you get a 9. Now this is going to look crazy to you when I do this. This right here, that 9 I just wrote, it is a 9, but it kind of isn't a 9. It's really 9 times the negative 16 in the front. 9 times negative 16 is negative 144. So technically, I just added negative 144 to the right-hand side. So what I have to do is I've got to add positive 144 to that side to keep it equal. Hope that makes some sense. We'll work on it tomorrow. So to finish up, watch this. The number that goes inside with my t is always whatever the half was. T minus 3 squared. If I add 3 and 144, I get 147. So my vertex is 3, 147. Now that's not the answer. It wants to know the height. It wants to know the y part of the vertex, because it's the height in feet. Well, the y part's 147. So how high did that hit go? It went 147 feet in the air. All right, that's all I got today. Complete the square. Half the middle, square it, add to both sides. Or if it's vertex form, half the middle, square it, add, and then subtract it from the same side. And we'll work on it tomorrow like we always do. Look forward to seeing you. See you, bye.